growing up, there was violence, there was gang life. Did that draw you in?
It was like in my veins, so I couldn't escape it even if I wanted to.
Where did that defiance come from initially?
I was a kid trying to figure out life.
How old were you?
I was on probation for 8 years from I was 14 till 22. Kids are still human and shit happens. It's important for me for the youth to know, like, don't worry, it gets better.
Welcome back to another episode of Who Judges the Judge, the podcast intended to make you question the way you judge the world around you. And I'm hoping that today's guest will do just that. I am here today with KP Parker, a poet, an author, a youth advocate, and a mental health advocate. And we are going to discuss your journey today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Super interesting. You reached out to me, I don't know, about a month ago now by email and invited me to your show, your upcoming performance, which we're definitely going to talk about. Unfortunately, I'm not available, but I started to look into your story, went on to your YouTube channel and found your video for Grandfather Clock. This is, it's such a moving piece. And honestly, within the first 5 sentences of Grandfather Clock, I just got back to you. I didn't even finish listening. I was like, I'm just going to email back and see if I can get you on the podcast so that we can have a conversation about your journey, about your art, about who you are as a person. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Tell us about your upcoming show and what that's about for you.
My upcoming show, Still Standing, A Decade Untamed. It's the celebration of my journey. So in 2015, I self-published my first book, Naked in the Dark. It's a poetry part of a trilogy. It's about my trauma, healing and enlightenment. I published it in 2015, November. And so throughout that journey, I've been focused on building my brand, building myself. And so this event is just to celebrate that. We're going to be doing a live show performance. I'm going to be performing with my violinist, Kai the violinist. We added a special guest as well. His name is Andrew Afwork. He's a pianist.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's going to be a 30-minute show.
Okay.
We have a live DJ. This show, since you asked me, this show is it's like my baby because I've put out 4 shows already, right? I've done 4 different events, but they were tied to book signings, except for in 2022 when I graduated high school as a mature student. I wanted to do a live show performance as that for that celebration as well, right? And so all of my events have been tied to a book signing, so it's been more intimate. But this show is actually like a live performance where I'm solely just focusing on, yes, there's going to be a book signing afterwards, but I'm solely focusing on the creative part of it. I'm going to be actually performing with my I don't know, it's a dope experience. And as much as I'm celebrating my journey, because I'm an independent artist and I'm an entrepreneur, I run my ship like any other professional would. Right. And for me, it's important that my teammates feel just as special as I feel. So I'm putting on this event and I'm making sure the violinist and my pianist, they get their stage time and I won't be on the stage, just so that they can feel the same type of vibe and celebration for themselves too, because they're artists as well, right? And so I'm sharing that stage with them. My violinist, I've been working with her since 2022. We performed for the first time together in 2022, and she's just been on my team since then. Andrew Afwork, my violinist actually brought him to me. She was like, I have this, and it was such a cool conversation because she's like, do you think it matches the budget? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, I feel really like a artist, because it's you really have to worry about all that stuff and
Absolutely.
and don't get me wrong, I'm always focused on that stuff, but her bringing that, it was I felt so honored. It was of course I want him to work with, you know what I mean? And she trusts me to put on a good show. I trust them to put on a good show. The rehearsals is crazy. And I'm excited. I'm excited.
I can feel it. It's amazing. You're giddy over the excitement building in this show, which is amazing. And it's amazing not only because you're an independent artist, you're doing this yourself, you're figuring out the business, all of those layers are amazing, but you're also celebrating your journey. And that it's huge, right? When you hit like a 10-year milestone. So earlier this year, I celebrated 10 years of having my law firm. And I
Ooh.
also threw like a huge party, massive celebration. And it was really amazing to sit back for me and think about what that journey looked like, right? What it was to start off with like nothing and needing to like
Where
figure
you
it
are
out,
now.
all the mistakes I've made along the way. I'm sure like it was a huge learning curve for you as well.
Still is.
Absolutely, and same, I'm still growing, I'm still, like, sort of changing, and the world is changing, so you've gotta change with it, right?
Mhm.
That's part of, I think, being an entrepreneur is recognizing your consumer base is shifting, and you've gotta shift, but still stay true to who you are,
Mhm.
which is amazing.
For sure, for sure.
Yes. S
Congratulations first.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
thank you. Just an example, but certainly this is about you, and I wanna understand that journey, and I want our listeners to understand that journey because, I mean, your poetry is beautiful with a bit of a darkness.
Yes.
And anyone who goes to your Instagram page will see that you identify yourself as a mental health advocate,
Mhm.
and that's not coming from a professional education.
Mhm.
So I want to talk a little bit about what your journey is, what you've been about, and how you came to be in this place you are today. So you were born and raised in Jane and Finch.
Yes.
Okay, what was that like for you? What was life like growing up?
It was like any other neighborhood. Like, of course, Jane and Finch has that stigma to it, but growing up as a kid in Jane and Finch, um, it was family based. You know, we had a community center, we had a swimming pool, we had our friends. We could go to our friend's house. My house, my mom had like a kind of like an open door policy. She was extremely strict, but she also had like an open door policy in terms of like my friends can come and open the fridge and eat whatever they wanted. My mom would like cook food for the neighborhood, and like when it was Thanksgiving, for example, she would cook food and have all the people come to our house. So growing up, it was like extremely tight knit. Um, but of course, we're in Jane and Finch, so there's violence, there's all types of things that you deal with.
And do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have siblings.
How
Yeah,
many siblings?
I have six on my dad's side,
O
and then me and my little sister grew up together, so that's my the my baby.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and
And
then
so
I
you
have
and your
six.
little sister lived together
Yeah, yeah,
throughout your, like, early childhood?
yeah.
And then what about your dad's kids? Were they in the household with you, or it was a
No,
household
my dad lived with us, but his kids were like,
grown?
no, they weren't grown. They were like added in between
Okay. From
appearances.
other they had
Yes.
different
Affairs and stuff.
moms.
Yes, yes,
Got
yes,
it,
yes.
okay.
Without going too deep.
Again, we're just trying to understand some of that history in order to really understand your journey.
Yeah,
That's what this is really about.
yeah, yeah.
So you touched on it a little bit, growing up in Jane and Finch, like, there was violence, there was gang life. Did that draw you in?
Of course. For one, we moved when I was 14. But before that, I feel like there's two things to that. We moved at the perfect time
Oh,
because it kept me out of a lot of things that I could have got deeper into.
okay.
But at the same time, I still got into that lifestyle because it was so close to me growing up, right? So it's like it was like in my veins, so I couldn't escape it even if I wanted to. So even though I was all the way um, so far, like there was times I was spending in New York, there was times I was spending in Oakville, and so even though I was so far away from Jane and Finch, like that lifestyle still followed me, like my mentality still followed me, and then on top of that, I was already like a defiant kid growing up. I was already had my anger issues and stuff growing up. So I was one of those kids where it was like I was like the baddest of everybody around us. Like I was the troublemaker. I was the one that either me or her, one of us were the first to get charged out of our groups, and we were still kids. So I've always had that label on me as just being a troublemaker. So it never it wasn't that it drawed me in, it was just inevitable, to be honest with you. And then the other thing too is my parents, they did a really good job. I'm not gonna sit here and say my parents never did a good job. My mom, she worked two jobs, and then my dad was in the streets. So you can imagine how much freedom and time we had. That added a huge part to like my development and like how I grew up as a kid, and then how I turned into like a super I don't give a fuck type of like teenager. Um my
Where did that defiance come from initially? Like, when you say you had, like, a defiance and you had like an anger growing inside of you. Where do you think that came from?
The defiance, now that I'm older and I've been able to channel it in different ways, I think that was just, I was just born with that leadership, like strong spirit, right?
Okay.
And when you're a kid, so me getting into trouble wasn't like, yeah, I was doing like causing trouble in the neighborhood and stuff, but majority of me getting into trouble was like school. I was getting bored in class. I was causing trouble in the classroom. The teacher would tell me, KP, do this, F you, and then it would start from there, right? And so it was always like,
Did it start from a boredom?
yeah, like
That's
I
so
had,
interesting. Me too.
yeah,
I was so bored in school.
yeah.
I used to like daydream. I used to get in trouble for daydreaming. My teachers made me write. Used to have to write notes. I would not daydream in class. I
Well,
was like daydreaming as I was writing these notes. It
I'd
was
probably get
crazy.
in less trouble if I was daydreaming. I was like literally like causing havoc in the classroom. I was
Okay.
causing havoc. I was like, yeah. Like when I was growing up, my mom used to be like, "You've been causing me trouble since you were in my stomach." So I was been like I said, it's just been part of that spirit in me to just be not define. Now I'm just a leadership spirit, but just you can't tell me what to do,
Right.
right? And it just like I said, it just got worse. My first charge I got when I was 12 from me, the same thing, like me being defiant, right? We're in class, same thing. I was causing trouble. I got bored, and my teacher was like, for the whole afternoon. It was like a Friday, so for the whole afternoon, the teacher was like, "Oh, KP, stop bothering the class, stop bothering teachers, stop bothering the classroom, whatever." And I'm this a regular day. Oh no, I'm not gonna do it. Like I'm just being a troublemaker that day. One thing about my schooling is that I had an IEP for my behavior issues. So I was an integrated student. So I was in regular classes, but
Okay.
yeah, but I also had the behaviors classes where I could go in, say for example, me and a teacher never got along, I could spend my time in the behavior class. Or if it was too distracting, that class was smaller and it was more controlled. So I didn't have to worry about like the noise and stuff. I can go there and do my work. So this particular class was a behavior class,
Okay.
and it was at Brookview Middle School. And when I started, like I said, all my friends are already there because it's the neighborhood school, right? So all my friends are already there, and all of them are warning me about this teacher who already got into a fight with one of the students,
Okay.
right? And so I'm there thinking like they're telling me, oh, she's like a big bad wolf type of teacher, but they're not warning me. They're just telling me like, oh, KP, you got this type stuff. It was like because they know like I did not give off, like I didn't care, right?
Right.
So it was like I got into this school and
So are they like hyping you up? Like,
it
oh, they were
wasn't.
waiting to see this like
Yeah,
interaction.
yeah. Like it was like everybody, the whole school, even the principals, like they were like waiting for this moment to happen because they knew
Okay.
I was a new student, right?
Right.
And so they knew on paper they knew an incident like that could happen.
Okay.
And no matter what school I went to, I've always had that shadow on me because I was always I've always been kicked out of school and having to start a new school. And before I got there is like every student knew, oh, you're here for getting kicked out of that school. So it was like on top of the people that I grew up with already knowing me to my core, it was like it wasn't so much about hyping me up. It was just like everybody's seen it coming,
So you
right?
just had like a reputation, and
I
that
had a
reputation
reputation.
was following you from school to school.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously before 12, you can't even be arrested. So you're just
Ex-
getting kicked out of schools.
exactly.
And now you land at 12 years old at this next
At,
school.
at this next school, and then the same thing happened. Now the reason why I mentioned that school that I grew up in is because that school that I started at is because all these incidents, I was able to like find a teacher that could connect with me. So no matter if I was like getting suspended or not, like, or if I was causing trouble or not, I still had some sort of support in the school, right? Now with this school, it was like I didn't have any support. They're just looking at me like I'm just a regular other bad kid from Jane and Finch. It wasn't so much of like, they never went through my history, right? So now this incident happens, same thing, we're laughing, giggling, whatever. I'm sitting on the desk and the teacher's like, get off the desk, whatever. So I finally get off the desk, long story short, and I'm getting ready to sit down and she like pulls my chair. So I fall, right? Automatically, I get embarrassed, right? As I'm saying,
She
like,
pulls the chair
yeah,
up
she
so that you
pulled like,
fall.
yeah, so she's behind me. So she pulled the chair so I could fall. So I fall. And everything was joking. Like we were all joking. So at that moment, she's thinking, oh, maybe I'm going to laugh at it, right? But I instantly got embarrassed, right? And I got, like, back then, it took me like very quick, like it never took me, as soon as I'm upset, I'm blowing up, right? And
Okay.
so
Like 0 to 10 in no
Yeah,
time.
yeah. And
Okay.
so that's what happened. And I got up and we were going back and forth. And this classroom, so there was two ECWs and a teacher because it was the behavior class, right?
Right.
So this person, the ECWs who pulled the chair. So me and her are going back and forth now, and the teacher's telling me, "Oh, calm down, whatever, whatever." But I can feel my blood boiling as they're telling me to calm down. So even now, like one thing about me, I give myself space. When I was younger, of course, that space looked different because I was harder for me to communicate my emotions, right? So this at this particular time, I remember asking the lady very calmly, "Can you move out of my way? Can you move out of my way?" And she like was standing at the door, like, "No, you can't leave. You can't leave. You're too upset." And I like basically like tried to pick her up to move her out of my way, and she grabbed my collar, like, and from there it was like I started punching her. She started punching me. They said that I threw a chair. I don't remember throwing the chair, but
Okay.
I probably did. I ended up getting charged with, long story short, I ended up getting charged with assault causing bodily harm, and assault with the weapon. The weapon was the chair. So
Okay.
that was my first three charges. But they waited. All right, so I've always been suspended and expelled. So I was used to like my 20-day suspensions and like my 30-day expulsions.
Right.
This they slapped like a 60-day expulsion. So I'm thinking, okay, it happened like a little bit before my birthday, right? So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go back to school after the 60 days. But the energy around it was so different because like the meetings had like the school board, the police, like my mom was like way more madder than she was at the other times, right? So I'm like, yeah, this is serious. And then my birthday happened, but I had another meeting, and then that was when I got charged. And then they're like, they charged me with the three charges, and then I ended up getting kicked out of that school. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, even though I got charged, I can still come back. But no, it was like I got charged, got kicked out, and then I had to like figure out where I'd graduate from. That was a journey. That was a journey.
Wow.
Yeah. And my mom was so mad.
No doubt. Now you were 12 at the time.
Yeah, I was 12 when that happened.
So, I mean, what happened with your charges?
So I did anger management.
Okay.
They made me do anger management, and then with those charges, after the anger management, like I guess my charges were wiped. But
Okay.
because I got arrested literally the year after, those charges that were wiped, they showed up every other on my criminal charges, like on my criminal record after that as a youth, because it like opened up. So the deal was to take the anger management,
Right.
and those charges wouldn't show up. But I got charged again for something else, and
And so
then
the charges followed
followed,
you.
yeah.
Okay. And what was your next set of charges?
Truancy, it was truancy and like robbery or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was that it? Or did you
No,
have
I've
like a
got no,
couple?
I've been no, I've I had a lot of charges that we're not gonna go into, or I'll be here forever. But
Okay. It's a
um
lengthy criminal record.
yeah, I do have a lengthy criminal record.
Okay. And all sort of like the result of violence?
No, survival. I
Okay.
was in survival mode.
Okay.
That's what I chalk it up to. I was in survival mode. I was a kid trying to figure out life. And that's what it was. Like the reason why I'm an advocate for youth mental health is because I remember being a kid and having pressures in life. And like you're bumping into adults telling you, oh, go to school, school's important, this, that, and the third, and they're not really taking into account the pressure that is on you. Right? Even now, like you see on social media, oh, like why how come kids nowadays they don't want to they have their phone off or something like that? Or like, what is bothering them for them to have their phone off? It's like as adults, like people don't really take into account that kids are still human and shit happens, right? And so I'm a huge mental health advocate because of that. Like it's like I know what it looks like to be like in jail, what it looks like to be stuck in jail, thinking like, oh yeah, this is the end. I didn't have a diploma. Like my parents is like, I'm in and out of jail. My parents is like, go to school. Like it's like it was just like a mess, right? And so I look at it like it's important for me for the youth to know like, don't worry, it gets better because I feel like not enough people tell them that.
Right.
Like a lot of people are like, even now, like the violence is way when I was in the streets, there was violence, yes, but the violence, I'm not blind to it. I know that there's kids are dying at 14, 13. One of my first friends died at 14. It was an accident, but they're still dying younger and younger than when my
Right.
first friend died at 14, right? And so you have that conversation where it's like, oh, they're dumb, they don't want to listen to this, that, and the third. And what it boils down to is one, the guidance isn't there, but also the emotional intelligence. Like who the hell is supposed to teach us how to deal with our traumas and how to deal with what we're dealing with? when they're telling us to go to school, when they're telling us you have your parents who are busy, who they don't even know how to deal with their own emotional intelligence. Like, so it's like you grow into, for me personally, like I grew into this hardened person, you know, just out of survival, out of making sure like I protect myself, protect the people around me, protect my heart, protect, it's just, that's what it was.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now I'm like really, even with the jails, like I go in there and I'm like, I see them when when I'm talking to them, and preparing for, I go on tour every year, right? And it's a youth personal development tour where I do motivational speaking and emotional intelligence workshops. So for the jails, I go in and I actually speak to these guys, and prepping me when I go in, they're like, oh, you have to remember some of them have these charges and this, that, like they're trying to like, of course, for the job, they have to let me know, like
They're warning
warning me,
you,
right?
but
But I'm looking at them like, seriously, like I don't like I don't know. But and I get in there and like the first thing is, where you from? Where you from? And when they're walking in, and then by the ending of the conversation, it's like such warm energy.
wow.
It's like,
Do you tell them you're from Jane and Finch? You tell them you're from Oakville because you live in Oakville
well,
now.
no, I tell them both. Okay, so with those conversations, it's
Yes.
kind of sticky because I'm not allowed to tell them exactly where I'm from. So
Okay.
I get, what we do is sometimes like if the energy is a little bit, if I know it's not gonna cause any trouble in the jails, like if it's a crowd where I could play this type of game, I'll
Right.
say, if you guys can guess where I'm from, I'll let you know. And then that's that. But the other thing too is I don't shy away from where I'm from. So
Right.
even though professionally and these guys are telling me for the jail politics to not say where I'm from, one, I'm not living in a lifestyle where I need to be proving myself.
Right.
There's that. And then the other thing is I'm not afraid of representing where I come from. Right. So it's like, yeah.
So we just, and I love it, but we gotta fill in this huge gap
Yeah.
because we're talking about you being in and out of jail, in and out of the streets, really struggling throughout your youth, and then today you're going into the jails voluntarily in an effort to try to help youth make better choices and help youth understand, how their trauma and how their upbringing contributes to where they're at today, which is amazing. So tell us how you get from one place to the next. How do you go from being, expelled from school at 12 years old for fighting with your teacher physically to being a mental health advocate for youth today? What's the turning point for you?
All right, so I was on house arrest,
Okay.
like in 2000, and
How old were you?
by this time I was probably 19 or 20. I was an
Okay.
adult now by
So
this time.
throughout your teens, are you in and out of jail, fighting, in
Yeah,
and out
yeah.
of school? Did you finish high school?
No, I
You
dropped
dropped out.
out. My dad passed away. My dad got shot in my old neighborhood,
I'm
and
sorry to
so
hear that.
yeah, so that was, aside from like on top of all the other traumas I was dealing with, that was the one that was like, okay, this is F school, you know what I mean? And then I dropped out, but I was on probation, so a lot of my charges, I had 4 different conditional sentences were
Okay.
like 2 years, but they're running concurrently.
Okay.
So I was on probation for 8 years from I was 14 till 22.
Wow.
Yeah. And in both of those, for all of my conditions, I either had to be in school or had to be working. Right. And so when I got into an adult, um, I wasn't getting into much trouble. I think I only got in trouble like 3 or 4 times as an adult compared to like, it sounds like a lot, but compared to when I was a kid, um,
And so when you're a kid, it's constant. Like from your first charge at 12, is it like
yeah,
you're regularly being arrested,
yeah,
regularly sent to a youth facility, back out,
yeah.
back in? Like
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
that the revolving door
There
that
was a
we've
revolving door.
talked
My
about.
my the longest I did was a year and some change. Like my dad passed away,
Right.
and that weekend I got arrested. So I was like in jail grieving. That was the one that was like the one that. All right. So the thing with jail is, this is the other thing that I try to teach the youth, is that as a youth, jail is. So I'm saying this very carefully because if you're not somebody who's never been to jail, this is gonna sound crazy. But jail is beneficial when you're a youth. You're developing life skills, right? Like you're learning, you're like there, I don't know, it's like it's a whole different environment. Now you get to the adult jail and it's like it's a complete waste of time. It's like yeah, they have your GED and they have all that stuff, but it's like at this time now you might have kids, you might have a job, you might have, and you're in there just wasting time. So
Now, on the flip side, and I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with this argument, but there is a very significant segment of our population that thinks that adult jail is just a place to punish people and separate offenders from society.
Exactly compared to
To
youth
youth.
jail where they're actually rehabilitating you. In adult jail, it's literally like you're there to serve your time. If you want a program, if there's a program in there for you to do it, cool. But it's literally you're in there.
Wasting away.
Yeah, and they're looking at you literally like an animal compared to they still look at you as an animal when you're a kid, but
Right.
it's literally like you are caged doing 24 to 1, like 23 to 1. Like it's a whole different ball game as an adult. So 16, I was in and out of jail, but that last time when my dad passed away was like the one thing was like the one even though prior to that jail was beneficial in my aspect because it was where I was developing discipline, it was where I was developing social skills, it was where I was developing time management. Like I was developing things that my mom didn't necessarily have the time to teach me because she was trying to make ends meet for my family, right?
Right.
And so when my dad died, I was in there and it was harder like that time was harder for me because now it's like now I'm in here grieving. I remember even like going to the grieving counselor and they're like, oh, it was like they're having conversation. I'm like, it's okay, like just take me back to jail, right? Yeah. And so that moment was like a eye opener. It was like, okay, I don't want to be here feeling like this,
Right.
right? So then when I got out, the I never got in trouble for so long after that. It was like a year, 2 years. Like the next time I got arrested, it was in a whole different place, right? But obviously my record follows me. But it was so long that like the prosecutors and all that shit, they're like, oh, you haven't been in trouble for so like they were like so surprised, right?
Disappointed to see you back, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Did your little sister follow in your footsteps?
She's the reason why also why I try to like make sure I turn my life around because
Wow.
she's like she got her license before me, her graduated college, graduated high school, like she's like a complete different person.
So what do you think? Because obviously, like, whenever I end up at dinner parties, people want to talk to me about like nature versus nurture, or
Mhm,
what makes people enter the criminal justice system. And having done this now for about 15 years, I think that there is a very, very small segment of the prison population that are humans that are wired for criminality.
mhm,
And I think the majority are created in their situations in life,
mhm,
whether it's where they grew up, the family they were raised, how they were treated as kids, what they had access to, what they didn't. Like there's a host of different factors, but often environmental. And I think the majority are environmental.
mhm.
So when, we look at a household like yours, where you and your sister, what's the age difference between you?
2 years apart.
You're only 2 years apart. You're
Mm.
essentially growing up. You're growing up to the same parents, growing up in the same house, same community. What do you think differentiates the two of you such that you start getting arrested at 12 and are continuously arrested throughout your teens, and your sister is making different choices and handling situations differently? What do you attribute that to?
Sometimes trauma stems from when you're in like your mom's womb, right? And so there's some stories that my mom told me like when I was in her stomach when she was holding me in her arms and like I'm sure it developed into my brain and just that's where it started from, I believe,
Okay.
to be honest with you. I feel like, yeah, when we're babies, you're a sponge. So whatever like experience you feel or you go through is gonna stick with you. And the deeper me and my mom conversations were getting, I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Even like my poetry, my mom said that she was writing poetry while I was in her stomach.
Oh,
And
wow.
look at me, a
And
poet.
now you grew up to be a poet.
Yeah, so it's
That's
like,
amazing. And do you think that you shielded your sister from some of the trauma
yeah,
that you
that's
were experiencing?
100%. Yeah, my
Okay.
sister was like, yeah, yeah. She's even now, like I still like, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
I would even I put it this way. I'm very professional. I'm so far out of the lifestyle that I've lived. I'm so far from the person that I was. But when it comes to my sister and my family, I do not mind going back to jail for life. Like it's like I love them that much.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so your dad passes, you go to jail, and this is different this time. When you go
Mhm.
to jail after your dad dies,
Mhm.
it's like different. You're in adult jail now. You're grieving. You're
No, I'm in
struggling.
youth jail. I
You're
was
still
still
in Utah.
16.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're 16. Sorry, I
Yeah.
thought you were 18.
No, I was 16. That incident was the one that was like, okay, when I come out, this is gonna be I'm gonna try and do something different with my life. And
Okay.
then
And did you?
yeah,
Did
I
you do different? Like
mhm.
that was like the turning point for you.
I got a job. So it was like my first job I got when I was 16, and
What were you
because
doing? What was your first job?
I was like making salads. I don't remember what the actual place was called, but it was
Okay.
like a Subway but for salads.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like people were coming in putting like, it was my first time seeing mango with lettuce. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, that was my first job, and then I got a job at a bakery, which I really liked.
Okay.
But the thing is, like I said, because I was on probation, I had two conditions: either go to school or have a job, and I chose to go to work instead of going to school.
Right.
So I always had a job. So my first job was the um salad. The second one was the bakery, and then the second one was another bakery. Um, and I had two more I worked at. My very first job was 12 when I was selling chocolates, but that's like that wasn't like a professional, right? Like it's just under the table you get cash. Yeah. But that was like the first like experience of like professional
And making money.
yeah, yeah. And then my last two jobs I had while I was on while I was on probation. Now the thing is with this is why I reiterate, that was the options. As soon as I came off probation and I know I didn't have to worry about going back to jail because I didn't have a job, I was like, you know what? F this. You can't tell me what to do. I quit my job and I'm going to be an author. Like it was like 2010. I was on house arrest and I came off on probation. Yeah, I came off probation in 2015, right? 2015. So I was on house arrest. I was working at Tim Hortons, and I remember like there was like this lady, like not this lady, my boss. Her office was like the way the Tim Horton, Toys R Us was set up was like they had their offices up here, and like the cash register was down here, and like they would call, make sure we're doing our quotas, and the lady would just be sitting up there looking down at you, and I hated that. I didn't like that. Like I didn't mind working, but I didn't like. I've always had an issue with authority and like that because I've always been in trouble with authority. So even though this is a good feeling, this should be a good feeling. I didn't like it at all, right?
Okay.
And so I quit. And I'm like, all right, what's next? And then I started writing an autobiography.
Had you been writing throughout your teens?
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember the story Jordan Manners.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So Jordan Manners was my close friend.
Okay.
Yeah, and when he passed away, I started
He
writing.
was shot on school property.
Yeah.
It was one of the first school shootings in Toronto that
Yeah.
that I remember.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry to hear about your friend.
It's okay.
I remember that case.
That's okay.
I remember it as a case. It's probably a really insensitive way to say it. You remember that as a horrible life experience. But yeah, Jordan Mann, he was young. He was like
he was
13, 14.
he turned 15. It was 6 days after his birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, so but yeah, anyway, life happens. Rest in peace. But
Absolutely. And that's what started you writing?
yeah, so I started writing. At those times, you can like they had like notes. You could post notes on Facebook, and so
Okay.
I'm thinking I'm ranting. Like I'm just writing. Like I wasn't being specific about like who I was talking about or like my specific experiences. I was just ranting like what I felt like. And I had a friend who was like on MSN. Those times we had MSN.
Okay.
And she was like messing me on MSN. You know you're writing poetry, and I was like so shocked because for me poetry was like roses are red and violets are blue. And so she brought it to me. She was my best friend at the time. She's still my best friend now, and like she like taught me different writing styles, poets, poetry, like the whole nine. And then I was like, oh, if this is what I'm doing, let me learn how to structure it. And then from there, it was just like every time something happened, poetry is where I would go, either poetry or alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was from 2007. And then I started my brand in 2010. Like started actually publicly sharing my poetry and like feeling confident. And like I had friends in jail too. So like they were like, I was sending them my poetry and like they were like, yo, this is sick, you can put it out. So it was like, yeah.
And so I was gonna ask, like, is it well received? Because when I think of like, teenage kids that are especially not kids, but like teenagers and people in their early 20s, especially those that are coming out in and out of jail, in and out of the streets, in and out of the life, like they're rapping. They're not, and it's poetry, but it's poetry in a certain format,
Mhm.
right? And traditional poetry is thought of as this more artistic, creative, theatrical form of storytelling.
Mhm.
Did it clash up against your friends, or were they
Mm-mm.
supportive?
No, they were
Because
supportive.
there's nothing about your poetry that's like necessarily violent in nature, but there's like a sort of angry undertones. Like you can tell that you are expressing, internal conflict
Mhm.
in a really beautiful format.
So the thing is with poetry, um, it helps you feel what you don't necessarily know, like, can identify. And so when you're reading it, a lot of my friends, they may not have understood it, but they felt something.
Right.
And so that's what it was. It was never like oh, you shouldn't write poetry. No, no. They all supported me and they've all had that. I may not understand it, but I can feel it, fam. Yeah,
Which is huge.
for sure.
And it's, I think, what separates you in so many ways, but what makes your voice so strong is just the ability to have that emotional expression in such a raw format.
Because the thing is, I never really. This is what I was gonna go into when I was like when you asked me if I've been on a podcast before. I started this as like something to help me heal, something to help me to survive.
Right.
I never really looked at it as like a money grabber or like something to help me. I didn't even know I was gonna be what I'm doing now. Like I started it just broken, hurt, and needed an escape. I needed something different. I was getting in trouble. I was thinking of like doing things that I knew wasn't gonna be productive to my life as an adult. So it was like I have all these poems. Let me write a book. Let me make a book, right?
Right.
And it turned into. I'm not gonna say it turned into it because I put the work in so that it could turn into what it is, but I never looked at it as art, and I still don't. So when I'm writing, it's not so much of like from for sure it's from a subconscious, from an artistic place, but it's more so from a place of like I'm writing this because I need to heal something. Something I don't talk about a lot of stuff that I go through, but I talk to my poetry. My poetry understands me in ways that nobody will ever be able to understand me. My poetry doesn't judge me. My poetry heals me in ways that a therapist can never heal me. So it was never about like, okay, I'm gonna put this out and then we're gonna compete. Like even now, like one of the things that I'm super proud of is that I built this with my hands. Like I didn't build this going to like a university and getting my PhD for writing. I literally built like I'd even when I was learning about poetry in school, like when I just graduated, then I was learning about the poetic devices and stuff. And my teacher was like, "Oh, you know that you're this is a metaphor and all that." Like in my poems, and she's showing me like teaching me the poetic devices through my poems. I didn't
Right.
know any of this, right? And so when I look at it from where I'm standing, it's like I will never put my poems and my trauma in the face of competition or any like in a way of like making it in a way where people can come up against it. Right? Like that's why I don't do spoken word like I put on my own shows and I make sure that my team can get their shine instead of my dad. Like how can you like my dad died, so I'm gonna go and compete with this poem about my dad dying with somebody who's talking about something love. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but
No, but you don't want to, it's not about judgment for you. And
yeah.
that makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
especially because if your poetry is sort of a judgment free place that you can just express yourself emotionally, intellectually, and get that internal struggle out, which is
Mhm.
essentially what I'm hearing your
Yeah.
poetry is about. No, it makes sense that you wouldn't want to put it up just for a competition.
Yeah, or like even put it up for money or like I'm very intentional about how I treat my art. Even that's why like with my fiction novels, I put out fiction novels because I was so tired of like people wondering, "Oh, why is your poetry so dark?" I could be in a great space, but because my poetry is what it is, it's like I had to answer, "Are you okay?" And I didn't like that. So it was like, okay,
Fair.
not only was I bored during COVID, it was like, okay, let me give myself some space away from all this. Oh, KP, are you okay? Are you okay? Because I'm fine. I'm growing, you
Right.
know? And so now it's like I'm in a place where it's like now people can see the artist, they can see the brand, they can see like it's not so much where the poetry just had me stuck in a certain place. Now it's like I've been able to grow it to where the poetry is like an entity of my darkness, you know?
It's amazing.
Yeah, and my brand too.
How long has it been now since you've exited the criminal justice system? Since your, let's say, your last set of charges? Like,
10. It's gonna be 10 years ago this year. So I came off probation in 22 when I was 22.
and you're done now.
Yeah, I'm finished 10 years ago, and I'm finished.
And
Yeah,
you've been out.
yeah, I've
Been out ever
yeah.
since.
And my thing was, I was saying
amazing.
like even a conversation like with talking to a lawyer, like in my head, like this is like I say full circle, because I was like, I'm never gonna go back to jail. But I go back. I even tell the youth that when I go in, I'm like, yo, I was telling myself I'm never gonna come back. I'm never gonna come back, and I'm in here
Voluntarily.
trying to help you guys, right? And same thing, like I'm never gonna talk to a lawyer. I'm never gonna talk to a lawyer, and like full circle, I'm like, it's cool because.
And now here you are doing your first podcast on a lawyer's podcast. But I mean, I try not to make it like lawyerly. We're not here to
for sure.
dissect your cases or even what you're about. But I think it's a really beautiful story of coming full circle. You know, for someone to use art and poetry and spoken words to come out and heal through like trauma and through the system itself. And now you use that to go back and try to help other people have a medium to heal. It's incredible. Really, really incredible. For listeners that want to find you and want to access your poetry and your art, how do they do so?
You can find it on my website. You can find my books.
What's your website?
www.theuntamable1.com.
Okay. Do you want to spell that for people?
THY.
Yes.
T as in Tommy. HYUNTAMBLE1.com. My books right now are available at another story bookshop and a different book list in downtown Toronto. They're both independent bookshops, bookstores. Okay. And those are like my first time having my books. This is my first year having my books in independent stores. So I'm pretty happy about that.
That's so amazing. Yeah. And I found pieces of your story on Instagram as well. Thy Untamable One.
Yes, Thy Untamable One.
And I understand because you consider yourself untamable.
Yes. Not consider, I am. You can't, I will never be tamed, controlled. I stand on that too.
Love it. I love it. KP, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I wish you good luck on your upcoming show that you're doing. It's November the 9th. Is that right?
November the 9th, yes.
And if people are listening to this and they want to attend, how do they find you?
You guys can follow me on Instagram and the link is in my bio. You can find it on Eventbrite.
Amazing. Yeah. I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.